what if we told you that aliens might not need a planet at all?
Whoa,
Yeah, crazy, right?
that's pretty wild.
You guys been sending us some really cool articles on the search for extraterrestrial life, and this one from space.com titled, Does Alien Life Need a Planet to Survive? Scientists Propose Intriguing Possibility. It really blew our minds. So get ready, because we're about to take a deep dive into this mind-bending idea, planetless life.
It really makes you question everything we think we know,
Mhm.
about life in the universe.
Totally.
I
It
know.
challenges how we even picture it,
Yeah.
I mean, Earth is our only model, right? So it's natural to assume aliens would need a similar setup, a nice cozy planet to call home.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh,
And that's why this article is so interesting. It forces us to step outside that Earth-centric mindset and consider all the possibilities that might exist beyond our planet.
It's a great reminder that in science, we should always be pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible. But, okay, before we get too sci-fi, let's bring it back down to Earth for a second. Literally, think about the astronauts on the International Space Station.
Okay.
They're living in space, but they're not exactly thriving independently, are they?
Right. Good point. They're more like temporary visitors.
Yeah.
Completely reliant on Earth for all their resources, oxygen, food, water, you name it.
Exactly.
But it does highlight the fact that we can survive in space,
Mm.
even if it's with a lot of support.
Totally. And speaking of surviving in space, what about those microscopic marvels we all know and love, tardigrades? Those little guys can actually withstand the vacuum of space.
Tardigrades, the ultimate survivors.
Yeah.
While they haven't evolved to live and reproduce in space long term, their resilience does raise some interesting questions. Could there be other organisms out there, maybe not as cute and cuddly as tardigrades, that have adapted to thrive in the harsh conditions of space?
Now that's where things get really exciting. But if we're talking about life truly flourishing in space, not just surviving, there are some major hurdles to overcome.
Oh yeah, definitely. The article breaks down some key challenges, starting with the issue of pressure. On Earth, we're used to a certain atmospheric pressure, but in space, it's practically non-existent. Any life form out there would need a way to maintain the internal pressure necessary for their cells to function.
So it's like the pressure as a deep sea diver experiences, but on a much grander scale.
Exactly. Imagine the pressure difference between the surface of the Earth and the edge of space. It's immense.
Cute.
But some organisms on Earth, like those found in the deepest part of the ocean, they've evolved to handle incredible pressure differences. So it's not entirely implausible to think that life elsewhere could have developed similar adaptations.
That's fascinating. Okay, so pressure is one challenge. What else would life in space need to overcome?
Well, let's talk about temperature. Space is an incredibly cold place, and without the protective blanket of an atmosphere, like we have on Earth, maintaining a stable temperature would be crucial for any life form.
And I remember the article mentioned the Saharan silver ant as an example of how life deals with extreme temperatures.
Right. This tiny ant survives in the scorching Sahara Desert by reflecting sunlight, using specialized hairs on its body. It's like having a built-in sun shield. Now imagine a space-based organism with a similar adaptation. But instead of staying cool, it's reflecting sunlight inward to maintain a warm internal temperature.
Incredible. So it's not just about surviving the cold, it's about actively manipulating the environment to create a habitable space.
Precisely. And it highlights the potential for incredible biological solutions to the challenges of living in space.
This brings us to another crucial factor, replenishing essential elements. Planets hold on to their elements because of gravity, right? So how would a free-floating life form manage that?
That's a great question. And it leads us to the concept of a closed-loop system. Basically, imagine a self-contained ecosystem where everything is constantly recycled and reused.
Like a miniature version of Earth's biosphere, but floating in space?
Exactly. And it would have to be incredibly efficient. We're talking about recycling everything, water, oxygen, even waste products, to create a sustainable environment. But it's not just about the elements themselves. It's about managing their specific ratios. For example, the right balance of carbon dioxide and oxygen is essential for respiration, just like here on Earth.
Wow, it's like a delicate balancing act on a cosmic scale.
Indeed. But the ingenuity of life on Earth suggests that such intricate systems are possible. And if we're thinking about long-term sustainability, a closed-loop system would be absolutely essential for any life form living in the vastness of space.
Now, all this talk of recycling and closed-loop systems makes me wonder, wouldn't a life form in space need a starting point? Some initial source of those essential building blocks?
You're absolutely right. They couldn't just appear out of thin air, so to speak. The article suggests that an asteroid rich in the necessary elements, could be a suitable starting point. Imagine an asteroid, perhaps captured in a stable orbit, providing the raw materials for this free-floating life to take hold.
Okay, so we've got a source of raw materials, a way to maintain pressure and temperature, and a system for recycling those all-important elements. But what about energy? I mean, you can't run a space colony on good vibes alone, right?
Of course not. Just like life on Earth, any life form in space would need a reliable energy source. And what better source than the ultimate powerhouse? The sun.
That makes sense. Solar energy seems like the most logical choice, especially for a free-floating structure that can position itself to soak up those rays.
Precisely. With the right technology, a space-based life form could harness the sun's energy to power its entire ecosystem.
Okay, so we've talked about pressure, temperature, replenishing elements, even access to a starting point and a reliable energy source. If we put all these pieces together, what might this planetless life actually look like? What kind of structure could house this intricate and self-sustaining ecosystem?
Well, the article paints a pretty fascinating picture, and it might not be what you expect.
All right, you've got me hooked. Tell me more.
Forget the image of a traditional spaceship. The article proposes something much more organic, almost like a giant free-floating cell. Imagine a structure maybe up to 330 feet across, with a hard, transparent shell.
Whoa, so not a sleek, metallic spaceship, but something more like a giant space bubble.
Exactly. This shell wouldn't be metal. It would need to be something that allows light to penetrate, while still being strong enough to maintain internal pressure.
Interesting.
It's a concept that pushes the boundaries of material science, but draws inspiration from structures found in nature, like the tough outer layer of certain seeds, or even the intricate designs of diatoms.
So it's regulating pressure, maintaining a stable temperature, and acting like a giant greenhouse all at the same time.
You got it. Just like the Saharan silver ant we talked about, this shell would need to be able to manipulate sunlight. Some areas might be more reflective to prevent overheating, while others could be designed to maximize light absorption for photosynthesis.
Wow, that's some serious bioengineering. It's amazing to think that we might be able to draw inspiration from nature to design future space habitats.
Absolutely. This research isn't just about searching for alien life. It's also about expanding our understanding of what's possible and pushing the boundaries of our own technology.
But how realistic is all of this? I mean, are scientists actually suggesting that these giant space bubbles might be floating around out there right now?
Well, it's important to remember that this is still a hypothesis, a thought experiment. While we haven't found any evidence of planetless life yet, the idea is grounded in scientific principles. It's about exploring the limits of what we consider life and challenging our assumptions about where it might exist.
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the wow factor and forget that science is all about asking questions and exploring possibilities.
Exactly. And even if we never find these planetless life forms, the research itself is incredibly valuable. It forces us to think outside the box and consider alternative solutions to challenges we might face in our own space exploration efforts.
So even if it's just a thought experiment, it could have real-world applications for humans venturing further into space.
Absolutely. Think about it. Our current space stations are essentially metal boxes, completely reliant on resupply missions from Earth. But what if we could create more self-sufficient habitats, inspired by these theoretical planetless life forms?
You're talking about bioengineered habitats, right? Environments that mimic the natural processes we see on Earth.
That's the idea. We could use bioengineering to design closed-loop systems that recycle waste, regulate temperature, and even generate food. Imagine a space station that's not just a sterile metal box, but a vibrant living ecosystem, capable of sustaining itself for extended periods.
Now that's a vision of the future I can get behind. Instead of those cold, metallic environments we see in sci-fi movies, we could have lush, green spaces filled with life. Even if it's far from any planet, it would be like bringing a little piece of Earth with us as we explore the cosmos.
It's a compelling vision, and it's all inspired by considering the possibility of life beyond planets.
So we started by challenging the assumption that life needs a planet. We explored the incredible challenges that planetless life would have to overcome, like pressure, temperature regulation, replenishing elements, and even finding a starting point and energy source. Then we dove into the mind-blowing concept of a giant free-floating space bubble, a bioengineered marvel that could sustain life in the vastness of space. It's been quite a journey.
And it's a reminder that we've only just begun to scratch the surface of understanding the vastness and diversity of the universe.
Exactly. Who knows what other wonders are out there waiting to be discovered? It really makes you realize how much we still have to learn about the universe and the incredible diversity of life that might exist within it.
It is, it's a humbling thought. We often search for life that mirrors our own. But what if life out there has taken a completely different path, evolving in ways we can't even comprehend?
Yeah, it's both exciting and a little bit terrifying. The universe is full of infinite possibilities. And the idea that life could exist without planets just throws open the doors to all sorts of incredible scenarios.
And it raises some profound questions about our place in the cosmos. If life can exist without the traditional support system of a planet, what does that say about the resilience and adaptability of life itself?
For sure. And what does it mean for the future of humanity? Could we one day create our own self-sustaining habitats in space, inspired by these theoretical planetless life forms?
It's a really tantalizing possibility. Imagine a future where humanity isn't bound to Earth, but can spread out amongst the stars, creating vibrant ecosystems in the vastness of space. It might sound like science fiction, but the research we've discussed today suggests that it might not be as far-fetched as we think.
I know I'll never look at the night sky the same way again. Every twinkling star could be a potential haven for life, even without a planet to call home.
That's the beauty of science, right?
Right.
It constantly challenges our perspectives.
Yeah,
And it opens up new avenues of exploration.
totally. So today we challenged the assumption that life needs planets. We explored the incredible challenges and potential solutions for planetless life and considered the implications for the future of space exploration. It's been a truly mind-expanding deep dive.
Absolutely. And it really highlights the importance of questioning our assumptions and pushing the boundaries of scientific inquiry. After all, the most incredible discoveries often come from the most unexpected places.
If life can exist beyond planets, what does that tell us about the vastness and diversity of the universe? And what possibilities does it open up for the future of humanity? We'd love to hear your thoughts. What stood out to you in this deep dive? Did it change how you think about the search for extraterrestrial life? Let us know.